The sound of birds outside the window wasn't anything new, but that morning, it annoyed the hell out of me. I rolled over and stared at the ceiling, trying to pretend like the day didn't feel different. It was just a regular Saturday in Maplewood, New Jersey. Quiet, still, too clean. My name's Scott. I'm 43, been living in the same house for 10 years. Suburbs, 2 stories, backyard that needed more work than I was willing to admit. That morning, I figured I'd finally fix the damn fence I'd been ignoring for weeks. I got dressed in the same worn jeans and work shirt I always used for home projects. Walked through the spotless kitchen I'd scrubbed down the night before. The sun cut through the blinds like it always did, casting those narrow gold lines on the tile. Everything looked normal, too normal, outside. The grass had been freshly mowed, and the breeze had that end of summer chill. I grabbed the drill, lugged it out back, and started lining up the warped slats of the fence. My mind wandered while I worked. The rhythm of it helped, the hum of the power tool, the snap of screws biting into wood. But even with that, I couldn't shake the weight in my chest. Midway through the 3rd panel, my phone buzzed on the porch railing. I wiped my hands on my jeans and grabbed it. A notification blinked on the lock screen. Shared post from Olivia Evans via Leo Burke. My stomach dropped. Quick note, before we go any further, share which city or country you're watching from. I'm curious where this kind of story hits hardest. I hadn't followed Olivia in months, not since that argument about boundaries and privacy and her public image. She said I was being controlling. I said she was being careless. We left it at that. But Leo sharing one of her posts? That wasn't nothing. I hesitated before clicking, but I clicked. It was a picture of Olivia and Leo at a bar. She was smiling. He had his hand low on her back. The caption read, "Redefining what it means to be free. Here's to independence and breaking old rules." Leo's comment above the post, "What is going on?" My jaw clenched so tight I thought a molar might crack. I stared at the photo, blinking hard. That flash from the bar camera caught them mid-laugh, like something out of a cheap promo ad. Olivia leaned into him like they'd known each other forever. My hand was frozen around the phone, and my drill sat dead on the grass. The sunlight was still warm on my skin, but everything inside me went cold. I didn't text her, didn't call. I just set the phone face down on the patio table. Then I walked back to the fence, picked up the next slat, and kept working. I finished the panel, but my hands weren't steady anymore. I tossed the drill into the grass and walked inside without even wiping the dirt off my boots. The living room was spotless, not just clean, surgical. Remote centered on the coffee table. Pillows fluffed, no creases, hardwood floors shining like glass. That wasn't Olivia. That was me. Every surface screamed control, order, routine. And none of it meant anything. I moved through the house like I didn't belong in it. The kitchen still smelled like lemon cleaner, cabinets lined up perfect. The kind of perfection you force when everything else is unraveling. I'd been scrubbing out feelings for months. Upstairs, I stepped into my office. Same deal. Binders in color-coded rows, printer paper stacked, untouched. I crossed the room and opened the bottom drawer of the old file cabinet. It took a second to find it. Red folder, frayed at the edges, tabs still marked in pencil. It hadn't moved in years. Inside, copies of our first business documents, back when the startup was just an idea we scribbled out in a diner. Back before Olivia had her personal brand and TED Talks. Back when we were a team. She was always the voice in the room. People listened to Olivia. She walked in and owned the space, but I was the one who made it legal. I was the one who built the foundation underneath all the flash. NDAs, vesting schedules, investor memos. I made sure nothing could fall apart, and when it did, I'd still be standing. I flipped to the back of the folder where we kept the originals, contracts, the partnership agreement, my signature, hers. Collins too, back when we brought him in as a technical co-founder. One clause highlighted in yellow. I'd forgotten I even marked it. Funny how your past self sometimes leaves you a breadcrumb trail, like it knew this day might come. She used to say we made a great team, her with the big picture, me with the fine print. But somewhere along the way, the picture got too big for the frame. She started making decisions without telling me. PR moves, risky hires, personal posts with our company tagged in them. When I brought it up, she brushed it off. "That's not your lane, Scott," she told me once, just like that. After everything I'd done, I closed the folder and stood there, staring at the bookshelf like it might offer a solution. Nothing. Just rows of order, lined up like soldiers. I walked back to the bedroom, grabbed a weekend bag from the closet, and started packing. A couple of shirts, jeans, laptop, shaving kit. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay here. Not right now. Before I zipped it up, I walked through the hallway one more time, almost on instinct. My feet slowed at the staircase wall. There it was, one of the few family pictures we ever bothered to print. The three of us. Olivia, me, and her father, Bill. Company party, year 3. Everyone had champagne. I looked uncomfortable. Olivia was mid-laugh. Bill had his hand on my shoulder like he owned me. Olivia always hated that photo. Said the lighting was bad. I kept it up anyway. Now it looked like a memory someone else had lived. I stared at it for a few seconds, jaw clenched, hands still. Then I turned, grabbed the bag, and headed out the door. No note, no text, just silence. I didn't even bother turning on the radio. Just silence and the sound of tires humming along cracked pavement as I drove past strip malls and shuttered gas stations. Took about 40 minutes to get to the industrial park where Colin's office was buried, between a tire warehouse and some forgettable logistics company. The building was beige and ugly, no logo, no front desk, just a steel door and a buzz-in panel. I pressed the call button and waited. Colin's voice came through the intercom. "That you?" "Yeah." The lock buzzed. I pulled the door open and climbed the stairs to the second floor. His office looked like it hadn't changed since 2006. Old blinds, wood-paneled walls, low lighting from a floor lamp in the corner. It smelled like dust and liquor. He stood when I walked in, tall, wiry, balding more than last time I saw him. "Well, shit," he said, holding out his hand. "Look what the wind dragged back." I shook it. "You still drinking that bottom shelf bourbon?" He laughed and pulled 2 glasses off a cabinet. "Didn't stop just 'cause I got old. Still keep the good stuff hidden behind the crap. You want ice?" Straight. We sat. He poured. I set the red folder between us on the desk. "So," he said, swirling the glass, "we're not just catching up, huh?" I shook my head. "I need your help, and I need you to remember why we wrote the rules in the first place." He looked down at the folder without touching it. "This about Olivia? You already saw the post, didn't you? Leo sent it to me with a question mark, figured it wasn't my business. It is now." I opened the folder and flipped to the section with the original partnership agreement, highlighted clause, 3rd page from the end. Colin leaned in. "She's crossed a line," I said. "That photo didn't just blow up among her influencer crowd. Investors saw it. One of our licensing partners emailed me this morning. They're spooked." Colin rubbed his jaw, eyes narrowing. "You always did say the PR side would be the thing that'd burn the house down. She made herself the brand. That's fine until the brand gets sloppy." He took a slow sip. "So, what's the play here, Scott? You want to suspend her? Talk to the board?" I pushed the page forward. "You remember this clause?" He picked up the paper. His expression tightened. "I wrote it in 2004. You signed it. So did she. If one partner's public behavior compromises the company's integrity, control can shift." Colin blinked at the paper, then looked back up at me. "You buried this in legalese so deep, I forgot it even existed. That was the point. And you think this qualifies?" I pulled my phone from my pocket and showed him the screenshot. "You think investors are going to stay quiet while the co-founder gets handsy with a former consultant who still holds Class B shares?" Colin stared at the photo, then at the folder. He didn't say anything for a long time. "I didn't come here to ask for permission," I said. "I came here because I need a witness when this hits the board." Colin nodded slowly. "You already made your move." I nodded back. "I'm not burning it down. I'm enforcing the rules she stopped caring about." He exhaled, then set the paper down like it weighed something. "I always wondered when this day would come. Honestly, feels overdue." "Same." Colin stood and walked over to a locked file cabinet. He pulled out an old binder, cracked it open, and slid out a notarized copy of the original contract. Same clause, same language, signed in black ink. He handed it to me. This one's cleaner than your copy. Use this. I took it without a word. You sure about this? He asked. I've never been more sure. He picked up his glass and tapped it against mine. Then let's see how she handles losing something she thought she couldn't. I didn't smile. I just drained the bourbon, tucked the folder under my arm, and walked out. I was halfway down Route 15, headed north with nothing but trees and silence ahead of me, when the phone lit up. Olivia. I let it ring almost to the end before I answered. Not because I cared what she had to say, but because I wanted her to know I wasn't scrambling to pick up. Her voice came in bright, too polished. Hey you, didn't expect you to answer. I didn't respond. She filled the gap like she always did. So, I guess you saw the picture? It's stupid, honestly. Just a joke. Leo and I were out, ran into some people, they took a picture, and he tagged me without asking. Still nothing from me. I kept my eyes on the dark road, the headlights cutting through pine and fog. She kept going. I mean, come on, Scott. It's not like we were doing anything. You know how people are online, always reading into things. You're smarter than that. I waited. She cleared her throat. Seriously, you're blowing this out of proportion. It was one night. You know how close we've all been. Leo's like family. I thought we were past this kind of jealousy crap. I finally spoke. I'm not jealous. That shut her up for a second. I'm done trying to fix what you keep breaking, I said. Her tone shifted. Scott, don't be dramatic. This isn't about control. You're twisting things. I'm not twisting anything, I said. I'm just not holding on anymore. She hesitated, and for the first time, her voice cracked. What does that mean? I pulled off the main road and onto the gravel path that led to the cabin. The tires crunched under me. It means you're free, I said, but not the way you think. Scott, I hung up. I tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and rolled down the window as I pulled up to the old cabin. It had been in my family since the 90s. One bed, no internet, barely any reception. Perfect. I stepped out and grabbed my bag from the trunk. The air smelled like wet leaves and smoke from someone's distant fire pit. Peaceful, but not soft. Just quiet enough to think clearly. The key stuck in the lock like always, and the door groaned as I pushed it open. Inside was bare wood and dust, and a silence I could actually stand. I set the bag down, poured myself some water from the old jug, and sat in the creaky chair by the window. My next move was already in motion. By morning, the fog hadn't lifted outside the cabin, but in my head, everything was sharp. I didn't bother with breakfast. Just black coffee and a stack of papers spread across the table. Colin had already emailed the scanned originals. Clean copies, notarized, time-stamped. No gaps, no holes to crawl through. I opened my laptop, hotspot tethered to the one bar of reception I could catch near the kitchen window. Slow, but enough to get what I needed done. Around 10, her email came in. Subject line, touching base. It started formal. Always a bad sign. I recognized that yesterday's events may have created tension and confusion among stakeholders. Then some garbage about brand identity, risk assessment, and mutual consideration. Not one actual apology. Just a string of polished words meant to sound responsible. I read it twice, then deleted it. The silent partner clause was already triggered. Colin and I had both signed off. The timestamp from Olivia's public post, paired with Leo's commentary, was enough to establish reputational damage, especially considering Leo's shareholder status and the company branding he tagged in that picture. It wasn't about jealousy. It was about exposure. I called Colin just after noon. You ready to move? I asked. He didn't hesitate. The board's been waiting on you. HR flagged her post. Legal's already poking around. Send the internal memo, I said. Then we initiate the review. I'll draft the formal complaint now. He sighed through the line. You sure you're good with this going nuclear? I looked out the cabin window, pines swaying in the breeze, not a soul in sight. She made it public, I said. I'm just responding. We hung up. I opened a new document. The language came easy. Direct, airtight, rooted in contract law and board policy. I cited the silent partner clause, outlined the reputational damage, noted the third-party confirmations of the post's visibility. I attached the screenshot and Colin's certified copy of the contract. Midway through, I checked her social media again. against my better judgment. Another post, bright photo. She was at a conference panel. Caption: Personal growth means letting go of what limits you. No more fear, no more rules. She had no clue. She was still playing the influencer game, posting for claps and followers, not realizing she'd wandered into a legal minefield. I finished the letter and saved it as a PDF. Subject line: Request for immediate conduct review, Olivia Evans. I didn't send it yet, not out of hesitation, just timing. I wanted it to land at the start of business tomorrow, right when her calendar was full of meetings she'd soon be uninvited from. I poured myself another cup of coffee and sat back, watching the screen go dim. She always thought she was untouchable, always assumed the rules bent around her. What she never understood was that I wrote the damn rules, and I never stopped watching. My email landed at 8:01 a.m. By 8:19, Olivia called twice. I didn't pick up. At 8:37, I got a text. Can we talk? Please. This is insane. I stared at it for a second, then locked my phone and set it face down on the cabin table. By 9, HR had reached out to her. I didn't see it happen, but Colin texted me one line. She's fuming, already blaming interns. Typical. Back at the office, Olivia was pacing in her corner glass room like a lion in a zoo, according to a junior manager who messaged Colin. She was loud enough that 2 teams heard her tearing into her assistant about insecure millennials misreading tone and cancel culture hysteria. She hadn't read the memo closely. The conduct review was official. The board had received the complaint, acknowledged the clause, and frozen her access to sensitive accounts. She still had her badge, for now, but privileges were already suspended. Financial approvals, travel bookings, contract sign-offs, all revoked. She thought it was a misunderstanding, a formality. I knew better. By noon, she called again. I let it ring out. Then came another text. You're making a huge mistake. You're letting them twist this. Please, let's talk privately. No, she'd had every chance to talk privately. She chose publicly. Now she was just reacting. That afternoon, she pulled her usual strings, called her dad. Bill tried to get in touch with old legal contacts, a couple board members she used to charm over drinks. But Bill didn't respond. And the board? They already had Colin's documentation in hand. They were covering their own asses now. Nobody wanted to be seen backing a scandal. She walked into the HR office like she still owned the floor. That's what Colin said anyway. Smiling like it was a misunderstanding, like she was there to give guidance. Then the HR director handed her a printed version of the complaint with her signature already scanned and matched from the contract archive. She didn't speak for 30 seconds, just stood there, reading. And that was when the cracks showed. She left without a word, no dramatic scene, just silent retreat. That night, she posted again. Some black and white photo of her standing on a rooftop, looking out over the skyline. Caption: Growth hurts, but staying small hurts more. Here's to shedding what no longer serves. The comments were full of clapping emojis and buzzwords. The ones who didn't know any better still cheered her on. But I knew her tells. That wasn't strength. That was spin. She sent one more message around 9 p.m. Scott, please, if we don't fix this now, it's going to spiral. Call me. I'm begging you. I didn't answer. She was finally starting to feel it, that shift when control slips through your hands and no one's there to catch you. Let her sit with it. The board meeting was scheduled for 9:30 a.m. sharp. Colin and I logged in 5 minutes early. Video off, mics muted. There were 8 of us total, spread across New York, LA, Chicago. A couple dialed in from private lounges, one from his car. Corporate money never stops moving. The board chair, Renner, got right to it. We're here to review the formal conduct complaint filed by co-founder Scott Evans regarding the recent actions of Olivia Evans, including but not limited to public behavior potentially damaging to the company's brand integrity. His voice was cold, detached, like he was reading a weather report. At 9:32, Olivia joined the call. Her camera flicked on. She had makeup on, hair done, a clean white blazer, that media-trained version of herself she always saved for crisis PR. She smiled slightly, too tightly. Hi everyone, thank you for making time this morning. I just want to say up front. Renner cut her off. We'll allow for comments after the review. Please hold your statement until then. Her smile didn't budge, but her eyes twitched. Colin shared his screen. The photo came up, Olivia and Leo, side by side at the bar, the caption below it, the hashtags, Boss Freedom and Break the Rules. His cursor hovered over the company tag, clearly visible. Dated, geo-tagged, and distributed across her verified account, Colin said. Seen by over 80,000 followers, several of whom are investors, employees, and contracted partners. Then came the clause, highlighted in yellow. Colin zoomed in. Renner cleared his throat. Per the agreement signed by all parties in 2004, we are required to assess whether this conduct constitutes reputational harm under Section 14D and whether a reassignment of equity control is justified. Olivia unmuted. This is ridiculous. You're treating one picture, one completely harmless moment, as corporate sabotage. Are we really pretending like no one in this company's ever had a drink after hours? Renner didn't flinch. Ms. Evans, this is not a disciplinary hearing. This is an equity reassessment based on contractual obligations. You agreed to these terms. I built this company, she snapped, when half of you were still figuring out how to update your LinkedIns. I didn't speak. Didn't need to. Colin scrolled through the submitted documentation. Emails, investor reactions, legal annotations. Every frame locked in place. The work had already been done. Then the vote. Renner spoke clearly. All board members, please submit your vote privately through the secure portal. You have 60 seconds. The screen went silent. Just the quiet clicking of keys. Mine had already been submitted. Less than a minute later, the results came in. Unanimous, 8-0. Renner looked into the camera. Effective immediately, Olivia Evans is relieved of her voting rights, equity stake, and executive authority within the company. HR will coordinate with legal for next steps. Olivia sat frozen. Her screen didn't move. She didn't blink. No, she whispered. Renner was already moving on. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. The call ended. 2 minutes later, I got a message on my phone. Scott, please, don't let this happen. We can fix this. I'll walk away from public stuff. I'll clean it all up. I'll disappear if I have to. Please, you don't have to do this. I didn't answer. The meeting was over. The decision made. There was no company left for her to walk back into. By the next morning, she'd gone quiet. No posts, no stories, no rise and grind or sunrise yoga shots. Just blank silence across all her accounts. But the damage didn't stop just because she shut up. Colin forwarded me the HR email she got. Confirmation of her formal suspension, revocation of systems access, and a scheduled off-boarding session with legal. The timestamp showed it hit her inbox at 8:07 a.m. Apparently, she didn't open it until noon. When she finally did, she called me again. I let it ring once and hit decline. That was the moment it clicked for her. I could feel it. Not just that I was ignoring her, but that I was gone, done, not playing the old roles anymore. After that, she tried the board, sent a group message to Renner and 2 of the others, claiming misunderstanding, misinterpretation, some version of, this isn't who I am. No one replied. She even reached out to Brad, last resort. He was the one she thought would back her, the one who used to whisper in her ear during conferences and stayed late after office hours. But his name had already been stripped from the system. Colin made sure of it. He'd taken a quiet severance deal weeks ago, right before I pulled the cord. Now she was circling an empty room, calling out names that no longer had seats. I didn't watch any of it in real time. I just saw it unfold secondhand. Her login deactivated, her ID flagged at the front desk, her Slack account frozen. One of the exec assistants told Colin she showed up to the building in person, stood in the lobby like she still belonged there, demanded to see her office. Security asked her to leave. That was Thursday. By Friday, her phone went straight to voicemail. I knew what she was doing, calling the PR firm we used to use, trying to prep a statement, something light and positive, a spin on her exit and new chapter. But it didn't catch. No traction, nobody reposted, no press bites, no partnerships waiting in the wings. She posted one photo late that night, a black screen with white text. Even when the world turns its back on you, you have to face forward. New beginnings. 12 likes. By Saturday, her name had disappeared from the website. No bio, no meet our founders, no trace. The people she thought were loyal started unfollowing her. Quietly, politely, nobody messaged, nobody defended her in comments, nobody was willing to sync with her. That weekend, I got one more text from her. 2 words. You win. I stared at it for a second, then deleted it without responding. This wasn't about winning. This was about ending something that should have ended years ago. Her brand, her image, the empire she built on buzzwords and charm, it was crumbling, and not with a bang, just slow, quiet isolation. Emails bouncing back, calls going cold, people choosing their reputations over her friendship. I watched from the cabin window as the wind picked up over the treetops. Pine needles skittered across the deck. Somewhere out there, Olivia was waking up in a house too big for one person, trying to figure out who she was without an audience. And I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. Sunday morning, I got the automated confirmation. Her removal was processed, finalized, logged. 10 minutes later, she got the same email. Subject: termination of equity and access. Final notification. It was short, brutal, legal. I pictured her sitting at the kitchen island she used to brag about on live streams. Quartz counters, gold fixtures, backlit shelves. I imagined her clicking that email, reading it once, then again, like the words might change if she squinted hard enough. They didn't. She replied within 20 minutes. This is unlawful. You have no right. I built this company. That message went straight to the compliance inbox. No one even opened it. She tried calling her lawyer. He forwarded her to the firm's junior associate. She called a tech contact we both knew. He'd been told not to take her calls. Even her old assistant, Morgan, who used to answer her texts in the middle of the night, ghosted her. Every path she tried, already shut. She still thought she could negotiate her way back in, smooth it over, spin the optics. But this wasn't optics. It was structure, and I'd built it carefully, layer by layer, while she was too busy chasing the next viral moment to notice. She tried resetting her company email, blocked, tried accessing the company drive, revoked. She even emailed HR again, asking for just a copy of her personal files. They didn't respond, not because they didn't see it, because they weren't allowed to. Then came the final hit. The house. I'd filed the motion weeks ago, knowing where this would land. Technically, the property was never in her name. It had been acquired through a joint trust. The second she lost her role in stake, the ownership shifted. Clean, quiet, uncontested. She got the notice Monday afternoon, delivered electronically, followed by a hard copy in the mailbox. I didn't need to see her face to know what it looked like. She'd spent so long believing she couldn't be touched that she never saw the edges closing in. Her empire didn't explode. It dissolved, quiet as dust under a closed door. I stood outside the cabin that evening, watching the last bit of sun drop behind the trees. No noise, no phones, just stillness. She was finally out, and I didn't need to say a word.